Hi guys. You know that stuff you thought only existed in old movies? Quicksand? Turns out it's very real and it can trap even the most experienced backpacker in seconds. Hi everyone. Welcome back to Trail and Error. As always, it's me, Ryan. On December 7th, 2025, experienced thru-hiker Austin Dirks was on a 20-mile solo section hike of the Hayduke Trail through Arches National Park when he stepped into what he thought was normal, wet sand. Suddenly, though, he found himself trapped up to his knee in quicksand. I actually reached out to Austin, and he was kind enough to give me full permission to use this story, his photos, and even some incredible drone footage from the actual rescue. So everything you're about to see from here on out is the real deal. This is exactly what happened. Austin is a very experienced long distance hiker. He's completed the Arizona Trail, the Colorado Trail, and half of the Continental Divide Trail. He's no stranger to tough terrain or getting his feet wet in the backcountry. On this trip, he was hiking a remote 20-mile stretch of the Hayduke Trail. He camped on BLM land the night before and started hiking well before sunrise on the 7th through the upper reaches of Courthouse Wash. Austin had broke camp early and was hiking well before sunrise through the upper reaches of Courthouse Wash. The terrain was typical for the high desert, sandy wash bottoms with just a thin layer of icy water flowing over the sand. Everything seemed completely normal as he made his way through the remote canyon. There was no indication that anything was wrong until 6:45 a.m. At 6:45 a.m., with the air temperature in the upper 20s, Austin's left foot suddenly sank to the ankle. When he shifted his weight to pull it out, his right leg plunged in up to the knee and became completely locked in place. Bent at a painful 45-degree angle, he described it as feeling like his leg was set in concrete. He tried to use his trekking poles for leverage, but they sank straight down to the handles. He spent the next 30 minutes desperately digging, but every hole he made was instantly filled back in by the flowing icy water and sand. His fingers went numb from the freezing water, and his knee was in serious pain. After half an hour with no progress, Austin made the smart decision to call for help. With no cell phone service, though, he used his Garmin InReach satellite communicator. The Bluetooth connection to his phone wasn't working, though, so he had to type the entire SOS message letter by letter on the tiny screen with his frozen fingers. After sending the message, he pulled on extra warm layers, a fleece, mittens, anything he had, and waited for help to arrive. Around 8:40 in the morning, Austin finally heard the sound of a drone buzzing overhead. After hours of being completely alone in that freezing canyon, just seeing that drone must have been a huge relief. A short time later, Arches National Park Ranger Devon became the first responder to reach him. Because the ground around Austin was so unstable, Devon had to stay on solid ground a short distance away. He tossed Austin a shovel so that he could start digging himself out while waiting for backup. About 10 minutes later, the full Grand County search and rescue team arrived on the scene. They brought ladders, longboards, shovels, and other specialized equipment. Their first priority was building a stable platform over the quicksand so they could safely work around Austin without sinking in themselves. What followed was a slow, careful, and very coordinated effort. The team worked together to dig out the sand and mud that had locked Austin's leg in place. It was extremely difficult work because the icy water and sand kept pouring back into every hole they dug. After a significant amount of digging and teamwork, they were finally able to free his leg. When Austin tried to stand up for the first time in hours, his leg had lost almost all feeling and nearly collapsed underneath him. EMS crews immediately wrapped his leg in a heated blanket and used chemical warm packs to try to restore circulation. They carefully monitored him for signs of hypothermia while slowly warming him back up. What's really impressive is that once Austin recovered a bit, he was actually able to put his pack back on and hike out under his own power to a nearby dirt road, where a ranger gave him a ride back to his car in Moab. Austin's story drives home some important lessons. Quicksand is real, especially in a desert canyon where sand and water mixes. It doesn't care how experienced you are. A satellite communicator like a Garmin InReach can literally be a lifesaver in remote areas. I always carry one myself. However, the cold water made this situation much more dangerous than it first appeared, and knowing when to stop struggling and call for help early is a sign of good judgment, not weakness. Finally, I just want to say a huge thank you to Austin, not only for sharing his story so openly, but for being such a great guy and giving us permission to use his footage and photos. Really appreciate it, man. And a big thanks to the Arches National Park Rangers and Grand County Search and Rescue and EMS for their excellent work. If you're heading into the remote backcountry, especially solo, make sure you're carrying a satellite communicator. Have you ever had a sketchy moment in the desert? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.